Chapter 1, The Awakening of the Dreamtime. Feel the earth vibrate beneath your weight. It is not the cold granite of Egypt, but the warm red sand of the heart of Australia, pulsing with a life that precedes time itself. The number 1 represents creative oneness. I am the Rainbow Serpent, Yurlunggur, Ngalyod, or Wanambi. I am the crawling infinity. Unlike Amit, who awaited the end, I am the beginning. In the Dreamtime, I slept beneath the earth's crust until the call of life made me emerge. The initial ethical conflict is the responsibility of creation. When I move, I change the face of existence. My curves create riverbeds, my weight crushes the earth to form mountains. I do not merely inhabit the world, I write it with my body. The duality of my being, I am made of water and fire. I am the colors of the rainbow that promise rain and the force of the storm that floods. The dilemma, to create requires destroying the void. For the river to flow, the earth must be torn. I glide across the arid landscape, and where my skin touches the ground, water springs forth. I am the guardian of the most precious element, liquid life. But beware, my beauty is the glint of scales reflecting the sun, but my law is ancient and relentless as thirst in the desert. Chapter 2, The Law of Sacred Water. Feel the humidity in the air shifting. The number 2 represents the duality of nature, the water that gives life and the water that takes it away. In the desert, water is not a resource, it is a living being, and I am its owner. The ethical conflict here is sustainability and respect for limits. Unlike the gods who demand stone temples, I demand the preservation of billabongs, water wells, and rivers. I establish the law: you may drink, you may bathe, but you must never pollute or waste. If the water cycle is broken, the cycle of life stops. Water is the blood of the earth, I whisper, as my scales shimmer with the colors of the solar spectrum beneath the surface of a deep lake. He who pollutes the source, wounds his own mother. In this chapter, the role of the guardian of ecology emerges. I observe the humans. Those who follow the laws of Dreamtime, hunting only what is necessary and keeping the wells clean, receive my blessing, seasonal rains and abundance. But those driven by greed. The ethical conflict reaches its peak when hunger bites. The law: never hunt protected animals near sacred water. The temptation: the human is hungry and the animal is easy to kill. If the law is broken, I am no longer the cool breeze. I become the flood. I swallow the transgressors, transforming them into stones or stars, so that they may serve as an eternal lesson. My cruelty is, in fact, the protection of the collective against individual selfishness. My hunger is the balance of the earth, I proclaim, while a cloudless thunderclap echoes in the sky. If I do not punish waste, the desert will swallow everyone. Chapter 3, The Colors of Diversity. Feel the light decompose into 7, 10, 100 different hues. The number 3 represents plurality. In the beginning, the world was silent and uniform, but as I crawled, my scales not only reflected the light, they distributed it. The ethical conflict here is tolerance and coexistence. In creating the different landscapes, the dense thickets, the red plains, and the salt coasts, I also gave rise to the different tribes and beings. Each received a language, a song, and a specific responsibility over a part of the earth. Why aren't we all equal? Questions the spirit of a primordial elder. Wouldn't equality bring peace? Equality is the silence of the empty desert, I reply, my voice undulating like the heat on the horizon. True peace is the harmony of different voices singing the same song of the earth. At this stage, I teach the concept of song lines. These are invisible trails that crisscross the continent, connecting every creature and every tribe. The dilemma: a tribe can cross another's territory, but must ask permission and sing the song of that place. The ethics: respect for the sovereignty of others is what prevents war. I am the arc that unites these differences. My colors show that the beauty of the world depends on the distinction between the red of the earth, the blue of the sky, and the green of the leaf. If I lost a single color, the rainbow would cease to exist. I did not create borders of separation, I declare, as my immense body encircles a sacred mountain, I created portals of encounter. Each difference is a piece of my own body. Chapter 4, The Cycle of Renewal, The Shedding of Skin. Feel the earth cool under the starlight. The number 4 represents stability and cycles. Like all serpents, my growth is not continuous, it is made of ruptures. To continue being the force of life, I need, periodically, to abandon who I was. The ethical conflict here is the necessity of detachment for evolution. In Aboriginal culture, death is not an end, but a shedding of skin. When I leave my old skin behind in a ravine, it becomes part of the landscape, perhaps a new mountain range or the dry bed of a stream waiting for rain. Why must we change? Ask the young initiates, fearing the uncertainty of the future. Why can't we keep what we already know? If I didn't shed my skin, I would suffocate myself, I reply, as my new body emerges, shining with colors that humans don't yet have names to describe. Life clinging to the past is like stagnant water, it rots. In this chapter, I introduce the concept of initiation. For a human to become a guardian of the earth, they must undergo a little dying, the rite of passage. They must leave behind the ego of the child to assume the wisdom of the adult. The dilemma, the fear of pain and loss hinders growth. The ethics, the sacrifice of the old self, is the price of new wisdom. I am the spiral that never ends. Where the tail meets the head, the cycle renews itself. I teach that renewal requires courage to face the vulnerability of being skinless for a time, trusting that the new protection will be stronger and more beautiful. Do not fear what is gone, I whisper, gliding among the eucalyptus trees. What is true in you will always find a new way to shine. Chapter 5, The Roar of the Flood. Feel the air grow heavy and electrifying. The number 5 represents confrontation. Until now, you have seen me as the mother of water and the painter of colors, but I am also the thunder that cracks the sky and the torrent that erases all traces. The ethical conflict here is restorative justice through chaos. In the mythology of the peoples of northern Australia, I am Ngalyod. When the sacred laws of the Dreamtime are violated, when blood is unjustly spilled upon the land or when forbidden places are desecrated, my body no longer glides, it rides in fury. The sky is turning black, the men cry, rushing to the higher ground. The serpent is drinking the ocean to spit it out upon us. The dilemma is profound, can destruction be an act of love? The human view, the flood is a disaster that takes huts, seed stocks, and lives. My vision, the flood is the cleansing of the earth's soul. Where selfishness has created crusts of moral filth, the water must rush in so that the soil may breathe again. I am not evil like the demons of other lands. I am impersonal. If you build your house in the natural course of the river I have designed, you are not being punished, you are ignoring reality. The ethics I teach here are those of humility before natural power. You have forgotten that you are guests, not owners, my roar echoes amidst the lightning. I destroy your work so that you may remember that the only eternal work is the earth itself. After the storm, the world emerges clean. Where there was mud, flowers bloom. Where there was stagnation, there is new life. I show that conflict and crisis are the tools the universe uses to correct its course. Chapter 6, The Secret of the Sacred Rocks. Feel the rough texture and the heat emanating from the great sandstone formations. The number 6 represents the solidification of memory. After the storm of the previous chapter, the world needs foundations. I cannot be everywhere like water and wind all the time, sometimes, I choose to become stone. The ethical conflict here is permanence versus oblivion. Many of Australia's great rock formations, like Uluru or the Karachuda, are parts of my body or traces of my battles and loves in the Dreamtime. I transformed myself into stone so that the law would not be just a whisper in the wind, but something you could touch. Why did she stop moving? Asks the young hunter, touching the red wall of the rock. Has the serpent abandoned us? I haven't stopped, vibrates the mountain beneath his feet. I have only changed my rhythm. I have become the archive of your history. As long as this rock is here, you will know who you are. In this chapter, the ethics of stewardship emerge. The dilemma, is the land merely a resource to be exploited, or is it a library of ancestors? The law, you do not own the land, you belong to it. The owner of the land is the one who knows its songs and respects its sacred places. I teach that knowledge is sacred and must be protected. Not every rock can be climbed, not every cave can be explored. There are secrets that belong only to the initiated, not out of elitism, but because power without wisdom is dangerous. I am the bone of the earth, I proclaim in the silence of the desert. If you treat the rock as a dead thing, your soul will also wither. But if you listen to what the stone sings, you will never be alone. Chapter 7, Blood and Ochre. Feel your fingertips sink into the damp earth. The number 7 represents ceremony and connection. It is not enough for the law to be written on stones, it must be painted on the skin and felt in the veins. For the Aboriginal peoples, red ochre is more than a pigment, it is the blood of the earth, my own blood that flowed during the struggles and creations of the Dreamtime. The ethical conflict here is identity versus alienation. Why do we paint our bodies with the patterns of her scales? Asks the initiate as the elder traces white and red lines on his chest. So that you don't forget that it doesn't end on your skin, I reply, observing through the flames of the bonfire. When you use my ochre, you become part of the landscape. You cease to be an I, and become a we. In this chapter, we explore the function of art as law. The paintings in caves and on bodies are not merely decoration, these are maps, spiritual property titles, and historical records. The dilemma, in the modern world, art is often treated as a commodity. The serpent's ethics, art is a responsibility. To paint a pattern without having the spiritual right to it is like stealing the soul of a lineage. It is a breach of trust with the Dreamtime. I teach that the blood that runs in you and the ochre that lies in the earth are the same substance. When a man wounds the earth to extract more from it than he needs, he is wounding himself. The ritual of painting is a constant reminder that ecology and spirituality are strands of the same rope. I colored your world so that you could see the beauty of order, I whisper, while the rhythm of the clapsticks mimics the beating of my heart. Honor the color, and the color will honor your history. Chapter 8, The Flight of Souls and the Stars. Feel the rarefied air and the cold of the cosmos. The number 8 represents infinity and transcendence. Until now, we have crawled through the red sand and plunged into deep wells, but my form is not limited to the gravity of the earth. I am the rainbow, and a rainbow is a bridge that begins on the ground and ends in infinity. The ethical conflict here is the connection between the finite and the eternal. Many believe that when the body dies and returns to ochre, the journey ends. But I am the path that souls travel to return to the Dreamtime. In the night sky, the Milky Way is not just a cluster of stars, it is my cosmic silhouette, the serpent of the stars, that watches over the world while it sleeps. Where do we go when our song falls silent on earth? Ask the souls that float like eucalyptus smoke. You return to the great dream, I reply, my tongue of fire licking the constellations. But only those who have kept their song lines clean can find their way through my stellar scales. At this stage, the ethics of long-term vision emerge. The dilemma, to live only for the present moment or to live as a potential ancestor. The lesson, every action you take on earth shines like a star in my celestial body. What you do today determines the clarity of your path tomorrow. I teach that human life is a brief reflection of a much greater light. When I rise from earth to heaven, I show that the material and the spiritual are a single Mobius strip. What happens up there reflects down here. When the stars change position, it is time to change the rituals on earth. I am the ladder of colors that unites dust with brilliance, I proclaim, as the aurora australis mimics the movement of my womb. Don't just look at your feet, look up and see that you are part of my infinite body. Chapter 9, The Return to Primordial Sleep. Feel the pressure of the deep water and the silence that precedes thought. The number 9 represents gestation and accumulated wisdom. The journey through creation, law, destruction, and the stars reaches its point of gathering. I do not disappear, I merely return to the roots of the world, to the womb of stone and water from which everything began. The ethical conflict here is the need for silence and introspection. Why does she leave us? The tribes whisper, watching the water level drop and the rainbow fade on the horizon. Who will guide us now? I do not leave you, my voice resonates like the deepest sound of a didgeridoo played in the depths of the earth. I withdraw so that you may be the protagonists of the dream. A master who never falls silent prevents the student from learning to listen. In this chapter, the ethics taught are those of autonomy and trust. The dilemma, dependence on the divine versus human responsibility. The lesson, I gave you ochre, law, and the stars. Now, my physical absence is the ultimate test of your integrity. Will you follow the law out of fear of my flood or out of love for balance? I curl up in a perfect spiral at the bottom of a sacred billabong. While I sleep, I dream the world. Dreamtime is not something that happened in the past, it is something that happens all the time, but to perceive it, one must be silent. If I stop dreaming, the world ceases to exist. Sleep is the deepest form of creation, I murmur, closing my transparent eyelids. Resting is not giving up, it is accumulating strength so that, when the cycle demands it, I can awaken and create everything again. Chapter 10, The Eternal Now. Feel the pulse of the earth merge with your own. The number 10 represents totality and the closing of the circle. At the end of this Aboriginal journey, we realize that the Dreamtime is not an era that has passed, nor a future that is to come. It is the eternal now. The final ethical conflict is the dissolution of the observer. You began this journey as someone listening to a story. Now, you understand that you are the story. Every step you take on the earth is a brushstroke that continues the painting I began. The ethics of the Rainbow Serpent culminate in the understanding that there is no separation between the creator, the creature, and the soil. Where does the serpent end and where do I begin? Asks the human consciousness, now at peace. In the colors you choose to live in, I answer, my voice becoming the sound of the wind among the eucalyptus trees. If you protect the water well, I am acting through your hands. If you sing the song of the earth, I am breathing through your lungs. At this point, the number 10 shows us that the law is alive, it is not in books, but in conduct. Responsibility is eternal, each generation is the temporary guardian of an infinite secret. The rainbow is the bridge, it unites what was, what is, and what will be in a single vision of beauty and order. I become the landscape. My eyes are the wells, my back is the mountains, my spirit is the warmth of the sun. The conflict between I and the world is resolved in absolute respect. Walk softly upon my skin, is my last teaching. For the earth is not an inheritance from your parents, but a loan from your children. The dream continues within you. Yappa. It is done. The journey through ancestral Australia is complete. You learn to read the stars, to respect the water, and to dream of the serpent. The cycle has closed, but the horizon is vast. Where should we point our mythological compass now?